Today, Mercury is forming an exact conjunction with Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces. And I know that might sound like just another astrological event, but stay with me, because what this actually does is dissolve the boundary between your rational mind and the infinite ocean beneath it. We're talking about the peak moment of intuition, mysticism, and signs, the point where your thinking softens at the edges, and in that softness, a spiritual vision opens. And for some of you, especially 3 specific zodiac signs, what arrives today is going to feel like something you can only describe as a message from somewhere beyond yourself. And I don't say that lightly. These aren't just fleeting impressions or vague intuitive nudges. I'm talking about sudden, full-formed clarity, arriving without warning. Entire truths about your life appearing in complete sentences. Solutions to things you've been turning over and over in your mind for months, just landing quietly, undeniably, like they were always there waiting for you to get quiet enough to hear them. Does that sound intense? Because it is. And honestly, I've been feeling the buildup to this myself. But here's what I really want you to understand. This isn't happening in isolation. We're moving through one of the most charged psychic windows of the entire year. The energy that's been accumulating throughout this season has been preparing your nervous system for exactly this moment. Today is a culmination. And if you've been feeling like your thoughts are dissolving at the edges, or like your dreams this week have been unusually vivid, unusually loaded with meaning, stay with me, because there's a very specific reason that's happening, and I'm going to break it down in this video. But first, there's something you need to understand about what Mercury Conjunct Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces actually means. Because 28 degrees Pisces isn't just any degree, it's the last breath before the end of the zodiacal wheel, the deepest, most surrendered point in the entire cycle. And Mercury, the planet of thought, language, and the rational mind, is walking directly into that space today. The mind that dissolves becomes the mind that receives. So here's what most people don't realize about this transit. Mercury is how we organize reality. It's how we name things, how we think, how we communicate, how we move information from point A to point B, and Neptune is the opposite of all of that. Neptune is the boundless ocean, the formless, the place where categories break down and everything is connected to everything else. In Pisces, its home sign, Neptune has been moving like a slow tide through the deepest spiritual waters any planet can inhabit. And at 28 degrees Pisces, we are at the absolute threshold. The last degrees of Pisces carry the accumulated spiritual residue of the entire zodiac. All 12 signs, all 12 chapters of experience compressed into a single point of dissolution and surrender. When Mercury meets Neptune here, right now, today, the rational mind doesn't just soften, it opens, it stops filtering, it becomes a vessel. And this is where the downloads come from, not from effort, not from analyzing harder or thinking more cleverly. From the moment the mind stops trying to control what arrives and starts actually receiving. The peak of this conjunction is exact today. The energy has been building for days, and it peaks right now. That strange quality in your thinking lately, the way ideas seem to arrive from the side rather than from the front, the way you keep noticing symbols and signs in places you'd normally overlook, that's not coincidence. That's your nervous system already tuning to this frequency. In esoteric tradition, Mercury is not only the rational mind, he's the messenger, Hermes, the one who travels between worlds. And when Mercury merges with Neptune in the final degrees of Pisces, that ancient function is at its most activated. The messenger doesn't just travel between cities today, he travels between dimensions. And now here's something I really want you to understand because it makes today different from any other Mercury-Neptune contact in recent memory. At the same time this conjunction is exact, the Sun in Aries is forming a sextile to Pluto at 3 degrees Aquarius. And this is the other side of today's energy. the part people are going to overlook because they're focused on the mystical quality of Mercury-Neptune. But the Sun sextile Pluto is what makes the difference between receiving a beautiful dream that fades by noon and receiving a vision that actually changes something in your life. Pluto in Aquarius is transformation through systems, through the structures of society, technology, collective evolution. The Sun in Aries is individual will, identity, the spark of conscious action. When these two form a sextile, it creates something rare, a current of quiet, internal power. Not force, not aggression. The kind of power that comes from knowing exactly who you are and exactly what you're capable of, and not needing to announce it. So what you have today is two streams meeting. Mercury-Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces. The visions arrive. Sun sextile Pluto at 3 degrees Aries /3 degrees Aquarius. You have the internal strength to hold them, to integrate them, to actually do something real with them. The mystical and the transformative, arriving together. This is not a day for passive dreaming. This is a day for receiving with intention. Your mind is already shifting. Have you noticed it? That unusual softness in your thinking right now? Like the usual certainty about what's real and what isn't has become slightly permeable. Maybe your inner dialogue has gone quieter than normal, or maybe the opposite. Words and images keep rising that feel older and wiser than your everyday self. A phrase arrives fully formed. A solution to something you weren't even consciously thinking about just appears. And if that's been happening for you, I really want you to know. You're not losing your grip. You're opening. The Mercury-Neptune conjunction at 28 degrees Pisces peaks today, and your mind is already responding. The downloads that come through this transit have a specific quality that's different from ordinary insight. They won't feel like something you figured out. They'll feel like something you were given. A thought that arrives from outside your usual mental territory, complete before you finish receiving it. A recognition, not of something new, but of something you always knew that you'd been talking over with noise. And here's the thing that catches people off guard. We're trained to trust the thoughts we work for, the ones we earn through logic and analysis. But today, the universe is offering you something you didn't have to earn. And the challenge is whether you can quiet the critic in your mind enough to actually receive it, without immediately interrogating it, categorizing it, deciding whether it's realistic. Because Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces doesn't speak in logic. It speaks in symbol, in feeling, in sudden knowing. And Mercury, dissolved into that frequency today, brings those transmissions through in the form of language. Sentences, images with words attached, things you hear yourself saying that surprise you. Now let me give you the full picture of why today is so significant. Because it's not just this conjunction in isolation. 28 degrees. Pisces is a degree of culmination. Any planet reaching this point is completing something. A cycle, a lesson, a chapter. Mercury moving through the final degrees of Pisces right now, merging with Neptune, is finishing a story about how you've been thinking, about what you've believed, about the mental frameworks you've been using to navigate your life, some of which no longer fit. The dissolution you may have been feeling lately in your thinking. The sense that old certainties are softening, that answers you used to be confident in don't satisfy you the way they once did. That's not confusion. That's completion. The mind is preparing to move into something new, and the vision that arrives today is what carries you across that threshold. At the same time, Pluto has been in Aquarius, slowly and steadily dismantling outdated structures, social, systemic, and personal. The Sun's sextile to Pluto today illuminates that process. It brings your conscious awareness into alignment with the transformation that's already happening beneath the surface. And rather than making that feel threatening, the sextile makes it feel like something you can work with, like a current you can ride rather than fight. The three signs receiving the clearest transmission today While everyone on Earth is moving through this energy right now, there are 3 signs positioned to receive the most vivid, most life-altering downloads. And if you have your sun, moon, or rising in Gemini, Virgo, or Pisces, or significant placements in these signs, what I'm about to explain is specifically for you. The reason these 3 signs are so powerfully affected comes down to Mercury's rulership. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, and when your ruling planet merges with Neptune at the final degree of Pisces, it's not happening somewhere abstract in the sky. It's happening inside your mind, inside your voice, inside the instrument you use to navigate your entire life. For Pisces, Neptune is your ruling planet. And Mercury entering your sign and merging with Neptune is 2 forces coming together at the very center of your own psychic world. Let me break down exactly what each sign is experiencing right now, because naming it will help you recognize and work with what arrives. Gemini. The voice receives what the mind cannot reach. If you're a Gemini sun, moon, or rising, Mercury is your planet. And right now, it's dissolving into the ocean. What that means for you is this: the part of you that generates language, that constant, quick, articulate inner voice that never really stops. It's being fed today from a source it doesn't usually access. Gemini is usually operating at speed. Ideas, connections, questions, words, rapid fire, always moving. But something different is happening right now. The motion slows, the usual chatter softens, and in that unusual quiet, something starts speaking that isn't your ordinary mind. It's slower, it uses different images, it doesn't argue with itself. What I believe is arriving for you is clarity about something you've been trying to put into words for a long time, but couldn't quite reach. A truth about your life, your path, your relationships, that you've been feeling but been unable to express. Today the words come, not because you pushed for them, because the channel opened. The download for Gemini today will arrive through language itself, a sentence, a phrase, an image with words attached. It might come in conversation, in writing, in the moment just before sleep. Pay close attention to what you hear yourself saying out loud today, because under Mercury-Neptune, your transmissions often bypass conscious intention. You'll say something and then stop. Where did that come from? That's the signal. That's the truth breaking through. The challenge for you is staying with it rather than immediately dissecting it. Your instinct is to analyze everything that arrives. Today, let it breathe first. Write it down before you start to pull it apart. And here's something additional for Gemini specifically today. With Sun sextile Pluto in the background, the words you receive aren't just for you. There's a quiet power in them, something worth sharing, worth building on. The insight that arrives today has structural integrity. It's not just a beautiful feeling. It can hold weight. Virgo. Precision surrenders into perception. If you're a Virgo sun, moon, or rising, Mercury is your planet too. And this conjunction is activating your sector of relationships, shared reality, and how you perceive others and are perceived in return. Virgo is usually the sign that notices everything, every detail, every discrepancy, every misalignment between what's said and what's real. Your mind is sharp. Your analysis is thorough, and that's usually your greatest gift. But today, Neptune is asking your precise mind to let go of precision and trust something that can't be measured. What's arriving for you today is perception beyond analysis, an understanding of someone in your life or of a situation you've been circling that doesn't come through logic. It comes through a kind of direct knowing. You'll feel it as a shift. Something that's been opaque suddenly becomes clear, not because you figured it out, but because the veil between you and the truth of it simply dissolved. This might also show up as heightened empathy, the capacity to feel what someone else is feeling without needing them to explain it. And that can be beautiful, but the challenge for Virgo today is boundaries. Because at 28 degrees Pisces, Mercury, Neptune doesn't always distinguish between your feelings and someone else's. Stay grounded. What you're receiving is real, but make sure you know whose reality it belongs to. The Sun sextile Pluto is your anchor today. While Mercury-Neptune softens your analytical edges, that Pluto current gives you the internal authority to trust what you perceive without needing external validation. You'll know what you know. Let that be enough. Pisces. Mercury brings your inner ocean into words. And finally, for Pisces Sun, Moon, or Rising, today your ruling planet Neptune and Mercury are merging directly in your own sign. This transit is as personal as it gets. It's not arriving from outside. It's moving through you. Pisces, you already know how to move in Neptune's waters. The formless, the dissolved, the sense of being connected to everything. That's your native territory. But here's what Mercury brings today that doesn't come easily on its own. Language for what you live inside. Form for what has been formless. Words for the visions. What I believe is arriving for you is the ability to finally express something you've been living inside of without being able to communicate it outward. Maybe to someone who needs to hear it. Maybe just to yourself in writing. But the clarity is here today in a form you can hold, share, return to. The second thing happening for Pisces right now, a deep recognition that the confusion you've experienced, the difficulty trusting your own perceptions, the sense of dissolving when you need to be solid, isn't a flaw in your design. It's how you receive. The dissolution is the mechanism. And today, Mercury illuminates that mechanism and makes it conscious. You're not broken. You're built differently. And that difference is the gift. The challenge for you today is discernment. Mercury-Neptune conjunctions in Pisces can blur the line between genuine intuition and what you deeply want to be true. Here's the test. Real downloads carry a quality of peace, even when the content is intense or difficult. Illusions carry urgency and need underneath them. Notice the quality of the feeling, not just the content. And with Sun sextile Pluto active today, you have more grounded access to your own inner authority than usual. Pisces often hands their power to others, to teachers, to partners, to systems. Today, that power is available to you directly. Use it. How to receive what's trying to come through today. Whether you're one of the 3 signs I mentioned or not, here's what I want you to do right now, today, to actually receive what's trying to reach you. First, create quiet. Mercury-Neptune at 28 degrees. Pisces transmits on a frequency that gets overwhelmed by noise. Notifications, constant stimulation, jumping between inputs. All of it creates static. If you can give yourself even 1 hour today where you are genuinely still, do it. This is not optional if you want to receive clearly. Second, slow your language down. Because this is Mercury, it's going to work through words. What you read, write, hear yourself say. Slow down. Read one thing slowly rather than skimming 10. Write in long form rather than fragments. Speak thoughtfully rather than reactively. The download wants to move through the quality of your attention. Here's a specific practice for today. Free writing. Paper and pen, not a screen. Write without stopping for 10 to 15 minutes. Don't think about what you're writing. Don't try to make it coherent. Just write whatever rises. You will be surprised by what appears. This is one of the most direct ways to access what Mercury-Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces is trying to give you, because it bypasses the inner editor and lets the deeper channel speak. While you're in that space, pay attention to the images that arrive alongside the words. Neptune speaks in symbol. You might be writing prose and suddenly a specific image appears in your mind. Water, a doorway, a color, a face. Write it down. That's part of the transmission too. Third, pay close attention to your dreams tonight. Mercury-Neptune conjunctions in Pisces are extraordinary for dream transmission. The veil is thinnest at 28 degrees Pisces. This is the degree of dissolution, of crossing over, of the space between sleeping and waking becoming genuinely thin. Keep something to write with beside your bed. When you wake, even in the night, capture what was there immediately. Don't wait for morning. The conscious mind edits. Get it down raw, in the language it arrived in, and notice the signs around you today. Under Mercury Conjunct Neptune at this degree, ordinary language becomes oracular. A conversation that seems casual on the surface might carry a message you needed. A song, a line in a book, something a stranger says in passing. Mercury-Neptune turns the everyday into a delivery system for exactly what you need to hear. Stay open. Now, this is critical. Please hear this. Ground what you receive before you act on it. The shadow of Mercury-Neptune in Pisces is one of the most seductive traps in astrology. The illusion that feels like truth. The longing that feels like a calling. The avoidance that feels like a spiritual prompting. The mind dissolved into Neptune can lose the ability to tell the difference between genuine intuition and the story it deeply wants to believe. Here's how you test what arrives today. Ask yourself, does this insight make me more responsible or less? Does it ask me to grow, or does it give me permission to avoid something difficult? Does it require honesty with myself, with others, or does it let me stay comfortable? Real downloads from Mercury-Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces carry a quality that's both peaceful and demanding. They don't inflate you. They often ask something real of you. And here's where today's secondary energy becomes your ally. Sun sextile Pluto at 3 degrees Aries / 3 degrees Aquarius is providing a current of quiet, unshakable internal power beneath everything. Pluto is the planet that cannot be deceived. It sees through ego constructs, through illusions, through what we tell ourselves to avoid transformation. The sun illuminating Pluto today means your deepest self, the part that knows, is unusually accessible. So use it. When something arrives through Mercury-Neptune today and you're not sure if it's real or wishful, go deeper. Underneath the beautiful vision, underneath the feeling, is there truth? Is there substance? Is this asking me to become more of who I actually am? Or is it giving me permission to stay smaller and call it spirituality? The vision that can withstand that question is the one worth carrying forward. The world is moving through this with you. I want to end here because I think it matters. What's happening today isn't only about you. Yes, you're receiving something personal. Yes, this activation belongs to your individual life and path, but you're part of a much larger field. When Mercury conjuncts Neptune at 28 degrees Pisces, the collective mind softens. The shared informational field becomes permeable in a way it rarely is. Things that couldn't be said find language. Truths that were submerged rise to the surface, not just in private journals, but in the conversations people are having, in the art being made, in the questions being asked publicly that weren't being asked before. And this is happening at the same moment that Pluto in Aquarius is reshaping the structures of collective reality. We are living through a period where old authorities are losing their ability to define what's true. Old systems of meaning are dissolving. And in the space that's opening up, something new is asking to come through. Not from any external institution or leader, but from individuals who have done the inner work, who have learned to trust their own perception, who can hold both the vision and the responsibility to ground it. At 28 degrees Pisces, this conjunction is a completion. Something is finishing, an old way of thinking, an old relationship to your own mind, an old story about what you can perceive and what you're allowed to trust. It's ending. And what Mercury carries forward from here into Aries, into new territory, is whatever you receive today. So take it seriously, honor it, make the space, and receive. If you're still here, thank you, genuinely. It means more than I can say that you stayed with me through all of this. If today's energy resonates with you and you want to stay connected as this cycle continues to unfold, please hit subscribe. It helps this work reach the people who need it, and I'd love to have you here for what comes next. And leave a comment below. I mean this. I want to know what comes through for you today. What lands? What makes sense that didn't before? What you write in your journal and stare at and wonder where it came from. Share it. I read every single one. We're all moving through this together, and what you receive matters. Not just for you, but for the field we're all part of. Take care of yourself today. Get quiet when you can. Let the ocean in, and be ready. Mercury is at 28 degrees Pisces. Right now, Neptune is waiting, and something real is trying to come through. I'll see you in the next one.